Ladakh is known for its incandescent lakes and breathtaking high passes. I had the privilege to trek the Kongmaru Pass. It's a 4-day trek that you can do on your own. But if you're not used to solo treks, it's better to hire a guide from Leh. On the way, I had breakfast at Gurudwara Patthar Sahib, which is around 25 kilometers from Leh. It is run by an Indian Army regiment. Don't forget to carry a water bottle with you or some snacks, as you won't find any shops or restaurants open in the morning. The trek starts from the village of Skiu, which is 65 to 70 kilometers from Leh. You can get there by a cab in about 1.5 hours. I started early in the morning around 8 and reached Skiu by 9:30. You will see a dirt road with tire marks indicating that some people start their trek a few kilometers further up. Day 1 of the trek doesn't have much of a climb. It was tiring as you have to walk 20 kilometers from Skiu to Markha village. It took me around 6 hours to get to Markha village. If you're doing this trek in the months of June, July or August, keep in mind that the days are going to be hot. I feel Ladakh has become warmer, and that is why I think locals including Sonam Wangchuk are worried about the environmental impact of mining and solar farms in the region. The heat made the trek a little tiring. After a couple of hours, I came across this gate, which is the last stop for cabs and other vehicles. This is where many trekkers start from. There's a tent here serving tea, Maggie, and cold drinks. There are a lot of mules for carrying supplies for trekkers and villagers in the Markha valley. A sudden change in weather followed by frequent spells of rainfall was a relief. By the time we reached Sara campsite, it had stopped raining. I filled my water bottle from a water drum set up by locals. Markha was still an hour away from here. There's some construction going on at the river right after the campsite. There's a small wooden bridge up ahead that you have to cross to get to Markha village. The village has two parts. Lower Markha, which has 3 to 4 houses, starts a few minutes after the bridge. Then there's the upper Markha with around 10 houses, and it's on the other side of the hill. You'll have to climb for another 15-20 minutes to get there. It was worth the climb as the village is beautiful with the river running next to it. Homestays here take guests on a rotation basis. So one homestay owner I went to told me to go to the one at the end of the village as it was their turn. This was a nice community gesture to ensure every homestay can make some money. All homestays here have a fixed rate of Rs 1500, which includes 3 meals. I reached Markha around 3 pm and was too tired to eat or drink. I rested till evening and had a cup of tea when I woke up. For dinner we had rice, dal and green vegetables. Next day, I set out at 8 am after an early breakfast. The lady at the guest house gave me a packet of food for lunch. It had some puris and egg, a boiled potato, Snickers chocolate, and a Tetra pack of guava juice. Soon after leaving Markha village, I came across this flat path that goes through the riverbed. You will see another path going up towards the mountain on the left side. I wasn't sure which was the correct route, but luckily a monk passed on an Enfield Himalayan bike and took the first path through the riverbed. He was going to a monastery that will come on the way to Hankar. After crossing a couple of streams, I came across a trail with footsteps and a bike tire mark, indicating I was on the right track. After a few minutes, I came across this monastery the monk was going to. It was on top of a mountain and the path looked quite steep. This part of the trek was even more beautiful and lush with greenery. I also came across a few mustard and barley fields with a few small mud houses. I also came across Mane walls with animal skulls and horns on top. These are low walls made of piles of stones inscribed with Buddhist chants or mantras. Structures like these are quite common on trails, with Buddhist villages or monasteries in the vicinity. You'll find them in Nepal and also in Ladakh quite frequently. The goal behind a Mane wall is to spread the message of peace and non-violence. Though we gained an altitude of 4100 meters today when we reached Hankar, the trek wasn't long as we only walked for 4 hours. There's a small campsite called Tachungse after Hankar. Some trekkers decided to head to it as we had reached Hankar village by only 1 pm. Hankar has fewer houses than Markha, but it has bigger farms. The locals here grow barley and vegetables. It also gets a lot more rain. I stayed in a cozy homestay owned by a very nice family. Grandfather here likes to spend a lot of time praying. They have a nice kitchen which has some utensils that are over 200 years old, according to the family. Though Ladakh is a cold desert, it has some green areas. This is one of them. Due to proximity to mountains, it rains very often here around this time of the year. Next morning, the rain had stopped but it was still cloudy. The homestay owner suggested it was good time to leave as the weather might deteriorate as we get closer to Nimaling, which is at an altitude of over 4700 meters. Today's trek ran directly along the riverside, and I had to walk through bushes most of the time. I had to cross a couple of bridges to get past the river, which was in full flow because of the rain last night. After walking for over an hour, we reached Tachungse. It's another campsite, and a few trekkers had stayed here to cover more distance yesterday. From this campsite, the trek is mostly upwards and gets more and more difficult. You will come across a stream right after this camp, and crossing it can be tricky as you have to hop quickly from one stone to another so you don't lose balance. The weather deteriorated very quickly after a few hours. We came across the small lake. By that time, it had started to snow and rain. Since there are no trees, there was no place to take shelter. There was a small house further up, and I could see some trekkers heading to it. I found a big rock that had a slight curve which seemed like a good place to take cover. I huddled under it and waited for the rain to stop. After around 20 to 30 minutes, the rain became less intense, and I decided to continue. Today's trek was quite exhausting and tiring as we had been walking for more than 6 hours. We finally reached a valley called Nimaling. As you can see, it's an open meadow with mountains on all sides and the river in between. On the right side is the Kangyatse peak. Many of the trekkers were heading to this peak. Its altitude is 6,200 meters. On the left side of Nimaling is Kongmaru Pass, where I am headed. Its altitude is 5,200 meters. There are no homestays in Nimaling. You can set your own tent or stay in the designated campsite. You can get food and a tent with a blanket and mattress for Rs 2,000 per day. There's another camp out there by Trek the Himalayas. They're also heading to Kongmaru tomorrow. The common campsite had shared tents. Bigger one could hold 5 people and smaller one 2. I'm sharing my tent with a Polish guy who was heading to Kangyatse Peak. This is the last day of the trek. After an early breakfast, I started around 8. Though it rained a bit last night, the weather was clear in the morning. Within an hour, I reached an open valley from where I could see a steep climb to Kangyatse Pass. There was another way that was less steep but longer. The weather had started to turn and it got misty by the time we reached the top of the pass. We couldn't stay there for long, as we were told that if it rains, getting down from the other side could get difficult, and the path was steep for a while. Usually in any trek, climbing down is the easier part, even though it puts a bit of pressure on your knees. But getting from Kongmaru Pass to Chokdu was quite challenging. I had to cross rivers more than 30 times, and it was not easy. At some places, I had to take off my shoes and wade into the water, and there was no stone to climb and hop on. I was later told that taking off shoes can be risky, as sharp rocks can cut your feet. So, if the shoes get wet, it's safer to wear them. In some places, the water currents were quite strong, so walking through water was extremely difficult without some sort of support, like holding on to the mountain on one side. The last part of the trek was challenging but fun. Even though I was on my own without a guide, other trekkers were very helpful in showing which path to take and from where to cross the river.